this video, I will be explaining you about the network theorems. So if you have a network and you want to find the current in the loop, or if you want to find the voltage across a particular element, then we can use this network theorem. It actually reduces the complexity of the network, or it enables us to solve the complex network for a given solution. Okay, and this network theorems, using this we can find the impact of a particular source, okay, that is on the response of a system. That means if you have a current source, if you have a voltage source, and if I am finding a current through a branch, then what is the effect of the voltage source, what is the effect of this current source, that is on the impact on the response of that particular system. Okay, that is network theorems. These are actually applicable for the linear networks. Linear networks are those networks which consist only of the linear elements. Linear elements are resistors, inductors, capacitors. So if a network is consisting of diodes, then we cannot apply these theorems. Okay, so these are applicable for the linear networks. That means they will be satisfying two principles or following two principles. That is, one thing is principle of homogeneity. The next is additivity. So what does this principle of homogeneity says? Suppose you have input x of t, it is producing the output y of t, and the scaling in this input, it results in the scaling of output. That means if you are scaling the input by the factor k, then if the output is also scaled by the same factor k, then that means it is satisfying this homogeneity principle. And what is this additivity principle? Additivity principle is nothing but the output which is corresponding to the sum of inputs is equal to the sum of the individual outputs. Okay, sum of individual outputs. x1t, it is producing the output y1t. x2t is producing the output y2t. Then according to additivity, what happens? If I give the input as the sum of two inputs, then I should have the output which is corresponding, means which is equal to the sum of their respective outputs, that is y1t plus y2t. Okay, this is your additivity principle. Now let us take the superposition theorem. So we have different types of theorems like superposition, Telegon's theorem, maximum power transfer theorem, Thevenin's theorem, Norton's theorem, Millman's theorem. Okay, so first let us take the superposition theorem. If you have voltage sources or current sources which are neither in parallel nor in series, okay, then in such cases we can go for this superposition theorem. Okay, and here we can find the effect of individual source on the particular element of interest. Suppose if I have to find the current through a particular element, then that is the area of interest. That element will be our area of interest. Now if I have two voltage sources, now I will consider the first source and see what is its effect, and then I will consider the second source and consider the effect of that particular source on that area of interest. That means that element. Okay, so that is superposition theorem. Then what does it state? So So it states that in a multi-source complex network consisting of linear and bilateral elements, the voltage across or current through any given element is equal to sum of individuals or currents produced by each source acting independently. Remaining sources are replaced by their internal impedances. Okay, so here we are going to find the effect of individual source. Okay, individual source. So we will consider only one source at a time, and then we are going to find the current through that element or the voltage across that element. So remaining sources are replaced by their internal impedances. That means now if I have a voltage source, okay, if I have a voltage source, this will be replaced by short circuit. That means it is a direct combination. Okay, it will be replaced by short circuit. But if you consider a practical voltage source, you know that it will have the internal resistance. Okay, in that case you should not alter this resistance. You should not do any modification for that. It should remain in a network as it is. Okay, but the voltage source will be replaced by the short circuit. Suppose you have a current source, then this will be replaced by the open circuit in the network. Open circuit. So short circuit means here the resistance is 0 ohm. Okay, so this is internal resistance, but if you consider the ideal voltage source, it will always have resistance that is equal to 0 ohm. Here resistance is equal to infinity. Okay, but if this has the resistance which is in parallel, that is internal resistance, this is a practical current source, right? So in this case you will replace the current source by open circuit, but you will keep the internal resistance as it is in the network. Okay, this is what this remaining sources are replaced by their internal impedances. So now let us consider a circuit. I will consider 3 impedances connected like this, and we will consider 2 voltage sources, plus minus E1, plus minus E2, and this other impedance is Z1, Z2 and Z3. Now we have to find the current through this impedance Z3. Let me consider this the junction points A and B. Okay, now how to find the current through this impedance. So first case, what I will do, I will consider E1 acting independently. E1 acting independently. In this case, you have to short circuit this E2. Okay, that is direct connection. Now it will be looking like this. Your circuit will look like this. Okay, so now I will find the current I1. I will consider this current as I1. This is because of E1 acting alone. I1 is the current, okay, because only E1 is acting. Next, in second case, I will find the current through AB, okay, current through AB, only because of E2. E2 acting independently. In this case, voltage source E1 will be short circuited. This one will be short circuited. Okay. I will consider the effect of E2 now. Because of this, a current will flow in this branch, and that I will name it as I2. Okay, I2 is because of E2, I1 is because of E1. Now, according to superposition theorem, we can say the resultant current that is through the branch AB, that will be equal to the sum of these currents, okay, that is produced by the voltage sources now, okay, acting independently. Now, it is I1 plus I2. Suppose if the direction of the current is same, okay, both are flowing, that is from A to B, from A to B. In this case, your IAB will be equal to the sum of this individual currents. But suppose you have I1 current flowing from A to B, but if you have current I2 which is flowing from B to A, in this case, that magnitude will be equal to the difference between that two currents. Suppose I1 is greater than I2. I1 is greater than I2. Now the resultant current I will flow in this direction, that is same as I1 because that is a larger current. And what will be the magnitude? That will be equal to larger minus smaller value I1 minus I2. I1 minus I2. And suppose I2 is greater than I1. I2 is greater than I1. What will be your resultant current? That will be equal to, that means the direction will be same as this larger current. Okay. What will be the magnitude? Larger minus smaller value. I2 minus I1. So this will be the superposition theorem when we have to find the current through a particular element. Now if I have to find the voltage, in that case what I will do? Plus minus, I will consider this as V1 and here I will consider plus minus V2. Okay, these are the voltage sources because of the voltage across this element Z3 because of E1 and E2. Now according to superposition theorem, we will have the resultant voltage, that is VAB, that is equal to V1 plus V2. Okay, V1 plus V2. That is when the polarities are same. When the polarities are same, plus minus plus minus. Okay, that is A is at higher potential than B. Okay, then that is VAB V1 plus V2. Suppose if I have this direction, polarity is like this, minus plus. In this case, what it will be? The resultant voltage will be equal to difference between these two voltages. Suppose V1 is greater than V2 now. Okay, this is the first case. V1 is greater than V2. In this case, it will be V1 minus V2. That is the magnitude. And what will be the polarity? It will be equal to the larger voltage polarity. So it is plus minus. So the resultant will be plus minus V. Okay. And suppose V2 is greater than V1. V2 is greater than V1. Now we have impedance Z3. What will be the voltage? It will be equal to this minus plus. And what will be the value? Larger minus smaller value, V2 minus V1. Okay. This is the superposition theorem. And suppose you have dependent sources. In that case, you cannot replace the dependent voltage source by short circuit and dependent source by current source by that's open circuit, because that value will become 0. Suppose I have this Vx, KVx. This will become 0 only when the voltage controlling it will become 0. Okay. And if I have a current, that is dependent current source, that is K into Ix depending upon the current. So that will become like value will be 0 only when this Ix is equal to 0. That is controlling current is 0. So don't replace the dependent sources by the open circuit and the short circuit. Okay, this is only for the independent voltage sources. Suppose you have a current source here, then also we can find the effect. Okay, that is independently. First I will consider this source, then I will consider this source. And this superposition theorem, this cannot be applied for the unilateral networks. Okay. For non-linear networks, this cannot be applied for this, and it cannot be used for the power effects because this power, it is non-linear. You know, power formula is equal to I square R, which is also equal to V square divided by R. Here you have the square, that means obviously this response becomes non-linear. Okay, so you can consider if the current is 2 ampere. Now let us consider for simplification R is equal to 1 ohm. So if I is equal to 2 ampere, you know P will be equal to 4 watts. What if I double this current? So it is 4 ampere. Then what happens to this power? It will be 4 square, that is 16 watts. So it is increased by the factor 4. Now if I consider this as 6 ampere, then what will happen to this? You have 36 watts. So 4 into 9, 36 means it will be increased by the factor 9. So this is not linear, this is non-linear. So we cannot apply the superposition theorem. That is for the power effects. Now let us take the Thevenin's theorem. So in this case also, if the circuit or if the network, if it has the voltage sources or the current sources which are neither in series nor in parallel, then we can also go for this Thevenin's theorem. So whatever the complexity of the network may be, we can replace it by the two terminal network, that is two terminal which is consisting of a voltage source and a resistance which is in series with it, or impedance which is in series with it. We can replace it by this simple network, whatever the complexity of the network may be. Okay, so any combinational network So what does this Thevenin's theorem says? It states that any combinational network consisting of linear and bilateral elements and active sources, regardless of the complexity or connection connected to the load terminals, can be replaced by a simple two-terminal network consisting of a voltage source with equivalent impedance in series with it. Okay, that means now what is this? Let me consider this as VTH. VTH is nothing but it is a voltage source. Now we are going to replace that with the voltage source VTH. This is nothing but the Thevenin's voltage, and equivalent impedance, let me consider that as ZTH. This is the equivalent impedance. Now we have a load which is connected to the load terminals, that is AB. Let us consider this as load terminals, and this is the load ZL which is connected to this terminal. So these are the marked terminals, right? So to find out the equivalent impedance, what we have to do is we have to remove this load now. For this purpose, we have to remove the load, and now we will be having remaining network here. In that we will be having current source, voltage source, we may have resistors. So to find the ZTH, first is we have to disconnect this load, that means remove the load. Then we have to replace the voltage source by short circuit and current source by open circuit. Current source by open circuit. But if it is having any internal impedance, we will be leaving it as it is in the network. Just we are going to replace this voltage and the current source by the short circuit and the open circuit respectively. So then we can find the ZTH. And this procedure is only when the circuit consists of independent sources. Okay, if there are any dependent sources, then we cannot follow this procedure to find out the ZTH. This VTH, how can we find the equivalent, that is Thevenin's voltage? This is nothing but it is the open circuit voltage. Open circuit voltage is nothing but we are going to open circuit this, that is we will remove the load and then we will find the VTH. Okay, that will be your open circuit Thevenin's voltage. And this equivalent impedance is nothing but it is equal to the equivalent impedance of the network which is seen through the load terminals into the network. That will be your ZTH. So if I have a network like this, this is our network. here we have a ZL, that is nothing but the load impedance connected like this. Okay, this is the current which is flowing through the load, that is IL. Now this, whatever the complexity of the network may be, we can replace it with the impedance, that is Thevenin's voltage in series with the equivalent impedance, and then we may connect the load across this now. Okay, so we can redraw this like this by finding the Thevenin's voltage and the that is equivalent impedance. Okay, so IL here, it will be what it will be actually equal to VTH divided by ZTH plus ZL. This will be your load current in this case. Okay, this is the current IL which is flowing. So IL will be equal to VTH divided by ZTH plus ZL. Okay, so this is Thevenin's voltage, this is the equivalent impedance. Now, if this network consists of both independent and dependent sources, dependent and independent sources, in this case, how we will find ZTH? How will you find ZTH? In this case, ZTH will be equal to open circuit voltage divided by the short circuit current. That means you have the two terminals AB. Now across this we are measuring VTH, right? By opening, that means by removing the load we will find the VTH. But now to find short circuit current, now we have to short circuit these two terminals AB and we have to find out the short circuit current, that is the current which is flowing through this. So now we will replace this by ISC. VOC we know, that is by open circuiting these terminals we will find the VTH, that is VOC. Okay, VOC by ISC if I do, I will get the ZTH. This is the procedure we will follow when it consists both the dependent and the independent sources. But if it has only, this is the second case, if it has only dependent sources, okay, your equivalent network, it will just be a resistance. Moreover, it will be a resistance because we will be getting VTH is equal to 0. That means there will be a short circuit there. Okay, that is dependent sources. That means here how you will simplify is, if you have the terminals AB, okay, what you will do, you will be connecting a 1 ampere source, that is the test current source will be connected across these terminals, and you have to find the voltage VAB. Okay, then your ZTH will be equal to VAB divided by 1. Okay, 1 ampere, VAB divided by 1 ampere, that will be your ZTH, and you will be getting VTH is equal to 0. Okay, that is when you have the only dependent sources, because there are no active sources present to supply the current. Okay, so this is when it is consisting only dependent source. This is when it consists both the dependent and the independent source. And the first, that was ZTH. Okay, by open circuiting, and we will short circuit the voltage sources, open circuit the current sources. That time it was only when it was consisting independent sources. And this is not applicable for the unilateral network. Okay, unilateral network, it is not applicable for the non-linear network. Okay, these are the limitations of the Thevenin's theorem.